The endless field of broken ships stretched out before Commander Jack Thompson. He stood at the viewport of his small scout vessel, his eyes taking in the massive junkyard of space debris that orbited the forgotten mining colony of Outpost 37. Twisted metal hulls, shattered solar arrays, and the hollow shells of what had once been proud ships now drifted silently in the void. Earth had abandoned this place 5 years ago, when the mines ran dry. They left behind everything too expensive to move: equipment, buildings, and damaged ships. Now, with enemies closing in on humanity's last safe places, these forgotten scraps might be their only hope. "What do you think, Commander?" asked Lieutenant Tom Miller, coming to stand beside Jack. "Doesn't look like much, does it?" Jack didn't answer right away. His mind was already sorting through the junkyard, seeing not what was, but what could be. "Run the numbers for me again," Jack finally said. Tom sighed and checked his tablet. "Not good, sir. The Stellar Coalition has us outgunned 10-1. Their ships are faster, stronger, and have better weapons. They've destroyed our main shipyards. The Earth Defense Fleet is down to 37 combat-ready vessels." He paused. "We're losing, sir. Everyone knows it." Jack turned away from the viewport, his face set with grim determination. Then we changed the game. The small command room on their scout ship became their planning center over the next 3 days. Jack called in the best minds they had left: engineers, weapons specialists, and tactical officers who hadn't given up hope. Most important was Chief Engineer Anna Reed, a gray-haired woman with eyes that missed nothing and hands that could fix anything. "This is insane," she said when Jack first explained his plan. "You want to build a warship from this junk. It would be a miracle if it even flew, let alone fought." "Then we'll make a miracle," Jack replied, "because we're out of conventional options." Anna studied the scans of the debris field again. "Some of these mining lasers could be modified for military use, and there's enough hull material to build something substantial. But the power requirements alone. What about those 3 damaged reactor cores from the old defense platforms?" Jack pointed to a cluster of debris on the far side of the field. 3 different types, 3 different generations of technology," Anna mused. "Incompatible systems." "Unless we make them compatible," Jack insisted. "Make them work together in ways their designers never imagined." Slowly, Anna's expression changed as possibilities formed in her mind. It would be ugly, a patchwork monster. Jack smiled for the first time in weeks. But it would be our monster. The next morning, Jack addressed the 200 crew members assembled in the scout ship's cargo bay. "Most of you know our situation," he began. "The Coalition thinks they've beaten us. They have more ships, better technology, and they've pushed us back to our final defensive line around Earth." He paused, looking at the faces before him, some hopeful, some doubtful, all tired from months of retreating and losing. "The Coalition calls humans the rats behind our backs," Jack continued. "They think it's an insult. But rats are survivors. Rats adapt. Rats thrive in the worst conditions. And right now, being rats is our greatest strength." He activated the holographic projector, showing a rough design that Anna had created overnight. It was strange-looking, asymmetrical, with obvious pieces from different vessels cobbled together. "This is the Phoenix. We're going to build her right here, from this scrapyard. She won't be pretty, but she'll be deadly. She'll use the Coalition's strengths against them, their rigid thinking, their standardized battle tactics, their predictability. The Phoenix will be like nothing they've ever faced, because no one would be crazy enough to build a ship this way. No one except humans with their backs against the wall." A low murmur spread through the crowd. Jack could see the doubt in many eyes. This plan was asking them to bet humanity's future on a ship made from trash. "Sir," a young technician spoke up, "even if we could build this, where would we get the crew? We don't have enough trained personnel to spare." "We're the crew," Jack answered simply. "Every person in this room. From this moment, we're no longer just a scouting mission. We're shipbuilders. We're innovators. We're the first crew of the Phoenix. The real work began the next day. Small teams in spacesuits ventured out to assess and claim the most promising pieces of debris. Anna established a makeshift command center, coordinating the massive salvage operation. The scout ship's small fabrication unit ran day and night, creating custom parts to connect incompatible systems. Progress was slow at first. Accidents happened. A severed airline here, a radiation leak there. 2 crew members were injured when a section of hull plating broke free during recovery. But with each setback came new solutions, improvised fixes that no engineering manual had ever documented. By the end of the first month, the basic frame of the Phoenix had taken shape. It hung in space like a skeletal promise, built around the intact bridge section of an old mining command vessel. Workers swarmed over it like ants, welding, cutting, and reshaping scrap into something new. Jack often found himself watching the construction from various viewports. During one such moment, Tom joined him. "The coalition would laugh if they saw what we're building," Tom said. "Let them laugh," Jack replied. "The best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't understand until it's too late." As the second month began, word of their project spread through the remaining human forces. At first, Fleet Command was skeptical, even angry that Jack had diverted resources to such an unproven concept. But desperation has a way of making the impossible seem worth trying. "They're sending us more personnel," Jack told Anna as they reviewed the day's progress. 50 engineers and technicians will arrive next week, and they're officially designating us as Project Phoenix. Anna looked up from her tablet, her face showing the exhaustion they all felt. "So we're not crazy anymore." Jack laughed. "Oh, we're still crazy. They'd just decided crazy might be our last hope." As the work continued, something unexpected happened. The crew began to believe. What had started as a desperate gamble was becoming a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience. Each day the Phoenix grew more defined, more real, and with it grew their determination to prove that humanity would not go quietly into extinction. 6 months, Anna promised Jack one evening as they stood looking at the half-completed warship. "Give me 6 months, and I'll give you a ship that will make the coalition regret ever calling us rats." Jack nodded, his eyes fixed on the Phoenix. From nothing but scrap and dreams, they were building humanity's last, best hope. And somehow, against all odds, he believed it would be enough. 6 months passed in a blur of endless work. The junkyard around Outpost 37 had transformed. Where once there was only floating debris, now there was purpose. Hundreds of people worked in teams, their spacesuits moving like busy insects across the growing shape of the Phoenix. Engineer Anna Reed stood in what would become the main engine room, her tablet showing the day's tasks. Her once neat gray hair now always looked messy, and dark circles had formed under her eyes from too little sleep. But there was fire in those eyes, a determination that inspired everyone around her. "The 3rd reactor is online," reported Sam, a young engineer who had become Anna's right hand. "Power output is stable at 65%. Anna nodded, making notes on her tablet. "Good. That's better than we hoped for. How are the connection points holding?" "The welds are solid. No leaks, no power fluctuations." What they had accomplished was already beyond what most engineers would believe possible. They had taken 3 different reactor cores, each designed for a different purpose, each using different technology, and made them work together as one power system. The first reactor's output fed into the second, which enhanced the energy before passing it to the third. The result was power levels that exceeded original specifications by more than double. "Commander Thompson is asking for an update," Sam said, checking his communicator. "He's bringing some visitors to see our progress." Anna sighed. More visitors meant more time explaining and less time working. But Jack had been good at getting them resources, so she couldn't complain too much. 30 minutes later, Jack arrived with 3 officers from Fleet Command. Anna recognized Admiral Wilson, a stern-faced woman who had initially opposed Project Phoenix. "And this is our engine room," Jack said proudly as they floated through the entry hatch. Chief Engineer Reed has created something truly remarkable here. Anna nodded to the visitors. We've managed to create a tri-core reactor system. Each core works in sequence, multiplying the output. We're seeing power levels 215% above standard specifications. Admiral Wilson's eyebrows rose slightly. Impressive. But is it stable? More stable than it should be, Anna admitted. We discovered that the radiation signature from the second core actually helps regulate the third. It's not something the original designers could have known. These systems were never meant to work together. Show them the weapon systems next, Jack suggested. That's where things get really interesting. The weapons bay of the Phoenix was a long chamber that had once been the cargo hold of a mining freighter. Now it housed what Anna considered her finest work. These started as standard mining lasers, she explained to the visitors, designed to cut through asteroid rock. We've modified them to channel through focusing crystals salvaged from old communications arrays. She activated a display showing test results. The beam coherence is remarkable. In our simulations, it cuts through standard coalition shields like they aren't even there. How is that possible? One of the officers asked. Their shield technology is generations ahead of ours because we're not using military-grade weapons, Anna explained. Their shields are designed to stop military energy signatures. Our hybrid mining lasers produce a completely different wavelength. They simply don't recognize the threat until it's too late. Admiral Wilson slowly walked around the weapons bay, studying everything with careful eyes. And the hull? She finally asked. Jack smiled. That's the best part. Show them, Anna. Anna led the group to a viewport where they could see workers attaching exterior hull plates. We're using a patchwork of different alloys. The pattern looks random, but it's carefully calculated. When enemy targeting systems scan us, the different materials create false readings and echoes. Their targeting computers can't get a solid lock. As the tour continued, Anna could see the Admiral's expression changing from skepticism to cautious hope. The Phoenix was ugly. There was no denying that. Its hull was a jagged collection of mismatched parts. Its shape was asymmetrical, with bulges and protrusions where different systems had been integrated. But in that ugliness was a kind of brutal beauty. The beauty of survival, of making do with what you have. Later, when the visitors had left, Jack found Anna in her makeshift office. The Admiral has approved full support for the Phoenix, he told her. We're getting everything we asked for. Additional personnel, priority on salvage rights, even some manufactured components from Earth's remaining factories. Anna looked up from her work, allowing herself a small smile. So they finally believe in us. They're starting to, Jack replied, sitting down across from her. But what matters more is that the crew believes. Have you noticed how they talk about the ship now? Not as a desperate last chance, but as something special. Anna had noticed. The Phoenix had become more than a project. It had become a symbol. In the mess hall, off-duty crew members swapped stories about the ship's unusual features. Some had started painting a Phoenix emblem on their spacesuits. There was even a growing collection of lucky charms being attached to the bridge stations. We're 2 weeks from our first system test, Anna said. The primary engines, life support, and defensive systems should all be operational by then. Weapons will take another week after that. Jack nodded, his face showing both excitement and concern. And then we see if this impossible ship can actually fly. The day of the first power-up sequence arrived with a mixture of tension and hope. The crew, now numbering over 300, were at their stations throughout the Phoenix. Jack sat in the command chair on the bridge, which had been assembled from parts of 3 different vessels. Around him, officers monitored stations cobbled together from salvaged equipment. All departments report ready, Commander, said Lieutenant Tom Miller from his position at Tactical. Jack took a deep breath. Begin power-up sequence. Throughout the ship, the 3 reactors came online in careful sequence. Power flowed through hastily assembled conduits, lighting up systems that had been dark for years before being salvaged and rebuilt. Anna's voice came over the comm from engineering. Reactor synchronization is holding steady. Power levels at 40% and rising. On the bridge, screens and control panels flickered to life. The hum of the ship's systems grew stronger, a vibration that could be felt through the deck plates. 50%, 60%, Anna reported. All systems nominal. Jack leaned forward in his chair. Take us to full power. There was a tense moment as the power levels rose. This was the moment of truth. Would the Phoenix hold together, or would their desperate gamble fail? 75%, 85%, 90%. The lights on the bridge brightened. The hum of the engines deepened into a powerful thrum that resonated through the entire ship. 100% power, Anna announced, her voice breaking with emotion. All systems functioning within parameters. She's holding, Commander. The Phoenix is alive. A cheer erupted throughout the ship, echoing through corridors and chambers that had been empty space just months before. On the bridge, Jack allowed himself a rare smile. Begin engine tests, he ordered once the celebration had quieted. Let's see if our impossible ship can move. Outside, the maneuvering thrusters fired in careful sequence. Slowly, for the first time, the Phoenix began to move under its own power. From dead scraps and abandoned dreams, they had built something new, something that might just change the course of the war. 2 weeks after the successful power-up test, the Phoenix was ready. The weapons systems were online, the engines were fully operational, and the crew had run countless drills. They were as prepared as they could be. Now they needed to prove their unusual ship could actually fight. Commander Jack Thompson stood on the bridge, looking at the main view screen. The stars shone bright against the blackness of space. Outpost 37 was now far behind them as they patrolled the outer edge of the abandoned mining sector. Status report, Jack ordered, his voice calm despite the tension everyone felt. Lieutenant Tom Miller checked his displays. All systems functioning at optimal levels. Shields at full strength. Weapons hot but inactive. Communications Officer Lisa Brown turned from her station. No signals detected in the area, Commander. As far as we can tell, we're alone out here. Jack nodded, but didn't fully believe it. Coalition scout ships had been spotted in nearby sectors. It was only a matter of time before one ventured into their territory. Maintain yellow alert status, he said, and continue running silent. Running silent was something the Phoenix did remarkably well. With their power systems dampened and their unique hull configuration confusing sensor suites, they were nearly invisible to standard detection methods. They could hide in plain sight, waiting for their moment. That moment came 3 days later. Contact. Tom called out, his voice sharp with sudden alertness. Coalition vessel dropping out of faster-than-light travel at coordinates 227 by 184. Jack straightened in his command chair. On screen. The view screen shifted to show a sleek, silver ship appearing in a flash of blue light. Its hull was smooth and elegant, with none of the rough patchwork that characterized the Phoenix. This was a coalition scout ship, smaller than their main battle cruisers, but still a formidable opponent. They're running standard sweep patterns, Tom reported. No indication they spotted us. Jack's mind raced through their options. This was the test they had been waiting for, but he had to be careful. If the Phoenix failed, or if the coalition ship managed to send a warning, they would lose the element of surprise that might be humanity's only advantage. Battle stations, he ordered quietly. Prepare all weapons systems. Plot an intercept course that keeps us in their sensor shadow until the last possible moment. Throughout the ship, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. In engineering, Anna monitored the power systems, ready to channel extra energy to weapons or shields as needed. In the weapons bay, gunners prepared the modified mining lasers for their first real combat test. Distance to target, 12,000 kilometers in closing, Tom announced. We'll be within optimal firing range in 3 minutes. Jack watched the enemy ship on the screen. The Coalition crew had no idea what was about to hit them. They believed this sector was abandoned, with nothing but debris and empty mining stations. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 2 minutes to optimal range. The bridge was silent except for the soft beeping of instruments. Jack could feel his heart beating in his chest, but his hands were steady. This moment would determine if their gamble had paid off, if a ship built from scrap could stand against the advanced technology of the Coalition. 1 minute. Jack leaned forward. Prepare to bring all systems to full power on my mark. Target their communications array first, then engines. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. 30 seconds. Jack took a deep breath. Mark. The Phoenix surged to life. Power flooded through its systems as it accelerated toward the unsuspecting Coalition vessel. The element of surprise was complete. By the time the enemy sensors detected them, they were already closing fast. They're powering up shields, Tom reported. They're trying to send a signal. Fire, Jack ordered. The modified mining lasers fired, their beams a strange purple-white color as they cut through space. They struck the Coalition ship's communications array first, just as planned. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Instead of being deflected by the enemy shields, the unconventional energy signature passed through them like they weren't even there. The communications array exploded in a shower of metal and energy. On the view screen, Jack could see the Coalition ship turning, trying to bring its weapons to bear on this unexpected threat. They're returning fire, Tom warned. Energy beams lanced out from the Coalition vessel, striking the Phoenix's makeshift hull. The ship shuddered, but held together. Shields holding at 82%, Tom reported. Their targeting systems are having trouble getting a lock on us. Just as Anna had predicted, the patchwork hull was confusing the enemy sensors. Their shots were increasingly off-target as their computers struggled to compensate. Target their engines, Jack ordered. Fire when ready. The Phoenix's lasers fired again, cutting into the Coalition ship's engine section. There was another explosion, and the enemy vessel began to drift, its main propulsion system crippled. They're disabled, Commander, Tom reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. They managed to get off a partial distress signal, but our jamming systems corrupted most of it. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Bring us alongside. Prepare boarding teams. I want their data cores, navigation charts, everything. 20 minutes later, the boarding teams returned with a wealth of valuable intelligence. The Coalition crew had been secured in their own brig, too shocked by the sudden attack to offer much resistance. You need to see this, sir, Lisa said, handing Jack a data tablet. We pulled their patrol routes and communication protocols. But more importantly, we now know their battle plans. Jack studied the information, his expression growing serious. The data showed a massive Coalition fleet gathering just beyond the outer colonies. They were preparing for a major offensive, a final push toward Earth itself. How long? He asked. 3 weeks, maybe 4, Lisa replied. They're calling it the final pacification. They believe this will end the war. Jack looked up at the crew on his bridge, their faces showing a mixture of fear and determination. The Phoenix had proven itself in its first combat test, but one small victory wouldn't be enough to save humanity. Send a priority communication to Fleet Command, he ordered. Tell them what we've learned. And tell them. He paused, looking at the disabled Coalition ship on the view screen. Tell them the Phoenix is coming to join the fight. As the message was sent, Jack stood at the viewport, looking out at the stars. The Phoenix had drawn first blood. Their impossible ship, built from nothing but scrap and determination, had defeated a technologically superior enemy vessel. It wasn't just a victory. It was proof that humanity still had a chance. What are your orders, sir? Tom asked. Jack turned back to the bridge, his face set with resolve. Set course for the Sol system. Maximum speed. It's time to show the Coalition what rats can really do when cornered. The Phoenix's engines flared to life, pushing the patchwork vessel forward into the darkness of space and toward the greatest battle humanity had ever faced. The journey to the Sol system took 8 days. 8 days of final preparations, weapon calibrations, and battle drills. 8 days for the crew to prepare themselves for what might be humanity's last stand. The Phoenix had proven itself against a single scout ship, but soon it would face an entire coalition battle fleet. Jack spent most of those days on the bridge or in the tactical room, studying the intelligence they had gathered. The coalition was bringing 30 warships, a mix of heavy cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. Against them, Earth could field only 17 ships, most of them damaged from previous battles and hastily repaired. "The odds aren't good," Admiral Wilson said during their final strategy meeting. Her face on the view screen looked tired but determined. "Even with the Phoenix, we're outnumbered almost 2-1. "Numbers aren't everything," Jack replied. "The Phoenix can hit them in ways they won't expect. And if we can force them to change their battle plans, to react to us instead of following their standard tactics, we can create openings for the rest of the fleet." The Admiral nodded. "We're counting on that. The Phoenix will take point position when the coalition arrives. Your job is to disrupt their formation and create confusion. The rest of the fleet will follow your lead." When the meeting ended, Jack found Tom and Anna waiting for him in the corridor. "How's the crew?" he asked. "Nervous," Tom admitted, "but ready. They believe in this ship. They believe in you." Anna nodded. "We've made some final adjustments to the weapon systems. The mining lasers are now 15% more powerful, and we've improved the targeting algorithms to compensate for coalition evasive maneuvers." Jack smiled at his 2 most trusted officers. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we make history, one way or another." The coalition fleet arrived exactly when the intelligence had predicted. They emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, their ships forming a perfect attack wedge. It was a formation designed to concentrate firepower while minimizing exposure, a standard coalition tactic that had overwhelmed human defenses many times before. On the Phoenix's bridge, Jack watched them appear on the long-range scanners. "They're right on schedule," he said. "Status report." "All systems at full power," Tom replied from the tactical station. "The rest of our fleet is in position, awaiting our signal." Lisa turned from her communications console. "We're intercepting their transmissions. They're calling us the Junkyard Fleet." Instead of being insulted, Jack smiled. "Perfect. Arrogance will make them vulnerable." The human fleet was positioned behind the shelter of several large asteroids. The Phoenix was at the front, its strange silhouette barely visible against the darkness of space. Behind it waited the 17 remaining ships of Earth's Defense Force, a mix of cruisers, frigates, and converted civilian vessels pressed into military service. "We are detecting target acquisition scans," Tom reported as the coalition fleet moved closer. "They'll be in firing range in 2 minutes." Jack took a deep breath. Everything they had worked for came down to this moment. Send the signal to the fleet. Execute Maneuver Alpha. The Phoenix surged forward, its unconventional engines pushing it to an acceleration rate that far exceeded normal specifications. It shot toward the coalition formation like a bullet, moving so fast that the enemy targeting computers couldn't adjust quickly enough. "They're trying to lock weapons," Tom called out as warning signals flashed across his console. "Initiate hull plate shift," Jack ordered calmly. Outside, the Phoenix's outer hull plates moved slightly, changing their alignment in a pattern that Anna had calculated to maximum precision. When the coalition ships fired their energy weapons, the beams struck the angled plates and deflected away in unpredictable directions. Some even reflected back toward the coalition ships themselves. "Their targeting algorithms are failing," Lisa reported, monitoring the confused communications from the enemy fleet. "They can't get a solid lock." "Now it's our turn," Jack said. "Fire all weapons. Target their lead vessel." The Phoenix's modified mining lasers fired, cutting through space with their strange purple-white energy. They struck the lead coalition cruiser, bypassing its shields and slicing deep into its hull. At the same time, the industrial electromagnets that Anna had repurposed as weapons activated, creating a powerful magnetic field that disrupted the coalition formation, pulling smaller ships off course. "Direct hit," Tom shouted. Their lead cruiser is reporting major damage to weapons and propulsion systems. Behind the Phoenix, the rest of the human fleet emerged from hiding, following the path that the Phoenix had carved through the enemy formation. They focused their fire on the ships that the Phoenix had disrupted, exploiting the gaps in the Coalition's once perfect battle line. "Coalition ships are breaking formation," Lisa announced, her voice rising with excitement. "Their captains are requesting new orders. Their central command is trying to reorganize." This was the advantage Jack had counted on. The Coalition military operated on strict hierarchies and precise battle plans. When faced with something they hadn't trained for, something as unpredictable as the Phoenix, their rigid command structure became a weakness. "Press the attack," Jack ordered. "Don't give them time to adapt." The battle raged for hours. The Phoenix darted through the Coalition fleet like a predator, striking hard and fast before moving to a new position. Its unconventional weapons and strange defensive capabilities confused and frustrated the enemy commanders. Each time they adjusted their tactics to counter one aspect of the Phoenix, the human ship would switch to a different approach. Slowly, the tide began to turn. 3 coalition ships had been destroyed outright. Several more were heavily damaged and trying to withdraw. The human fleet had suffered losses too. 5 ships destroyed, 3 more badly damaged. But they were still fighting, inspired by the Phoenix's unexpected success. "Coalition command ship is signaling a withdrawal," Lisa reported, her voice hoarse from hours of continuous updates. They're retreating, Commander." A cheer erupted on the bridge. For the first time in the war, a Coalition battle group had been forced to withdraw. The Phoenix, scared and with several systems running on emergency power, had changed the course of the battle. "Damage report," Jack called out once the celebration had quieted. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, Tom replied. "Reactor 2 is offline. Weapons are at 60% capacity, but we're still combat capable." Jack nodded, feeling a mixture of pride, exhaustion, and determination. Maintain battle stations. They might come back. But the Coalition didn't return. Their remaining ships gathered their damaged vessels and disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving the human fleet victorious in the emptiness of space. Admiral Wilson's face appeared on the main view screen. She looked shocked, as if she couldn't quite believe what had happened. "In 30 years of service," she said, "I've never seen anything like what your ship just did, Commander. The Phoenix has given us something we haven't had in a long time. Hope." Jack looked around at his exhausted but proud crew. "What happens now, Admiral?" "Now." Wilson's face broke into a rare smile. "Now we take this victory and build on it. Your ship has shown us a new way to fight." Fleet Command's message just came through. Build more. As the human fleet regrouped and began the journey back to Earth, word of the Phoenix's victory spread quickly. The ship, built from nothing but scrap and determination, had stood against the best the Coalition could offer, and had won. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a legend, a symbol of humanity's refusal to surrender. And this was just the beginning. 1 year had passed since the Battle of the Kuiper Belt. 1 year since the Phoenix had changed the course of the war. In that time, humanity had transformed its approach to fighting the Stellar Coalition. Jack stood on the observation deck of the Phoenix, looking out at what had once been Outpost 37. The abandoned mining colony was now a bustling shipyard. Where there had once been only floating debris, there were now dozens of vessels under construction. Each one followed the Phoenix philosophy: adaptive, unpredictable, and built from whatever materials were at hand. "It's quite a sight, isn't it?" Anna said, joining him at the viewport. Her gray hair was now completely white, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "I never thought I'd see this place so alive again," Jack admitted. What had started with one desperate gamble had become humanity's new strategy. Mining colonies, space stations, and even refugee outposts had been converted into improvised shipyards. Each produced vessels that embraced the lessons learned from the Phoenix, ships that defied conventional design, used repurposed technology in unexpected ways, and confused enemy targeting systems. "The newest ships are even better than we were," Anna said with pride. "The Griffin can reconfigure its weapon systems in the middle of battle. The Chimera can split into 3 separate attack craft and then rejoin. The Hydra can absorb damage in one section and use the energy to power its weapons." Tom approached them, carrying a data tablet. "Fleet report just came in. The Coalition lost another battle group at Proxima Centauri. That's their 5th major defeat in the past 3 months." Jack nodded. The tide of the war had shifted dramatically. The Coalition, which had once pushed humanity to the brink of extinction, was now on the defensive. Their rigid military hierarchy struggled to adapt to the chaotic human approach to space combat. Every time they adjusted their tactics to counter one human innovation, 3 more would appear. "And the Phoenix?" Jack asked. "Are the upgrades complete?" "Final testing is underway now," Anna replied. "She's barely recognizable from her original form." That was true. The Phoenix had been continuously modified throughout the past year. After each battle, Anna and her team would integrate captured Coalition technology, repair damage with improved materials, and add new systems. The ship was now a hybrid of human ingenuity and alien technology, still ugly by conventional standards, but undeniably effective. "Commander," Lisa's voice came over the comm system. "Priority message from Fleet Command. The Coalition is requesting communication on a diplomatic channel." Jack, Anna, and Tom exchanged surprised looks. This was unexpected. The Coalition had never shown interest in communication before, only conquest. "Patch it through to the tactical room," Jack ordered. "We'll take it there." In the tactical room, a large view screen dominated one wall. When it activated, it showed the face of a Coalition ambassador. The alien's gray skin and mandibles were familiar to all humans now, after years of war. "Commander Thompson," the ambassador said, its translator converting the clicks and whistles of its native language into English. "I am Ambassador Krell of the Stellar Coalition High Command." Jack kept his face neutral. "This is unexpected, Ambassador. The Coalition hasn't been interested in talking before." The ambassador's mandibles twitched in what humans had learned was an expression of respect or submission. "Circumstances have changed. We request a ceasefire and formal negotiations." The room fell silent. After years of desperate fighting, the concept of peace seemed almost unimaginable. "Why now?" Jack asked finally. "We underestimated your species' capacity for adaptation," the ambassador stated formally. "What you built from nothing now rules our battlefield calculations. Our military analysts can no longer predict human tactics or technology. Our commanders cannot adapt quickly enough to your innovations." Jack glanced at Anna and Tom, seeing his own surprise mirrored in their faces. The Coalition, with its superior technology and resources, was admitting that humanity's junkyard fleet had beaten them. "Our High Command has reassessed the cost of continuing this conflict," the ambassador continued. "We seek terms that will allow both our civilizations to survive." After the communication ended, Jack remained in the tactical room with his senior officers, discussing what had just happened. "Can we trust them?" Tom asked, voicing what everyone was thinking. "Not completely," Jack admitted, "but their losses have been significant. The war isn't going the way they planned." Admiral Wilson joined the discussion via secure channel from Earth. "This could be our chance to secure lasting peace, but we negotiate from strength, not desperation. The Phoenix fleet will remain on high alert during any talks." Over the next month, representatives from Earth and the Coalition met on a neutral space station. Jack attended as part of the human delegation, bringing with him detailed scans of Coalition technology that the Phoenix had captured during its many battles. The negotiations were tense but productive. The coalition, once determined to conquer humanity, now sought boundaries and rules of engagement. They offered technological exchange and trade routes in return for peace. Most importantly, they recognized human space as sovereign territory, something they had never done for any other species they encountered. When the preliminary peace treaty was signed, Jack returned to the Phoenix with mixed emotions. The ship had been his home for over a year, the center of humanity's resistance and eventual triumph. "What happens now?" Tom asked as they walked through the corridors of the ship. "The Phoenix will lead a patrol fleet along the new borders," Jack replied. "The coalition may have agreed to peace, but trust needs to be earned." In the engine room, Anna was supervising final adjustments to the latest upgrades. "I never thought I'd say this," she said when Jack told her about his new assignment. "But I'm going to miss this ugly ship." Jack smiled. "You're not getting rid of us that easily. You're coming too, as chief engineer for the entire patrol fleet." Later, alone on the observation deck, Jack looked out at the stars. The Phoenix had changed everything. A ship built from desperation and scrap metal had altered the course of history, transforming humanity from prey to equals. A junior officer approached hesitantly. "Sir, Fleet Command has asked for your input on the new ship designs. They want to know if we should start making them more conventional now that the war is ending." Jack thought about this for a moment, then shook his head. "No, we keep them adaptable, unpredictable. That's not just how we fought. It's who we are. Humans adapt, we improvise, we overcome. That's the lesson of the Phoenix." As if in response, the ship hummed around him, its mismatched systems working in perfect harmony. The warship built from nothing had indeed come to rule the battlefield, and in doing so, had secured a future for humanity among the stars. From scrap and dreams, they had forged not just victory, but a new beginning.